Go.
Hey everybody, it's Webbs and Lannisum here with Team Quantitative Easing for another replay. Unfortunately, we do not have one of the larger quantitative easing ones for you like we said we would for Shoutcast number 9 due to something we like to call the Llama Rule, which is any game in which Llama plays, we cannot possibly record or save the replays of any game where he does anything intelligent. So he apparently did not want to shoutcast many of the matches because apparently it made him look like an idiot. So he will not be joining us this time. Instead, this is going to be a game that I played early yesterday morning with Bastables here. Thank you for your support, Bastables. Much appreciated. And this game has actually been one of the closest ones I've ever played.
It was really quite back and forth. And just FYI, this is only quantitative easing member here is Webbs, so none of us are involved besides him. It's all puppies.
Oh god, puppies.
Yeah, that is intervention.
So the distribution here is I am going to be going on the left flank, spawning here in Golf command vehicle. I've got 4 Zippos here. I'm ready for an assault from Juliet, thinking they're going to be pushing things down from Juliet, which is normally what happens. Turns out that actually isn't the case here, but we're going to see that in a moment. It looks like Firestarter has also deployed VABs in a nice little alliance. These Zippos are going to be able to fire from range upon whatever the VABs may see. I'm going to be spawning in some heavier tanks here, some 4 Leopard 1A3s that are fully vetted, so that way they're going to be spot-on accurate. And with that Vet 3, we're going to have roughly 7 or 8 accuracy here with these tanks. They're going to be extremely accurate and have 6 AP. So pretty effective tanks for their price.
And over on the right here, we have Zorghammer. You're going to see he doesn't really do the most effective fighting, but it definitely goes back and forth. And this match is going to be quite a nail-biter.
So if we take a look at what the PACT is deploying, you can see that they're really heavily pushing stuff onto the right flank here. So we've got 6 T-72s and 4 T-80s along with some BMP-2s, anti-aircraft, command armor, recon chopper, more T-72s. Here's some T-72Bs. Those things are going to be really nasty. Some Scots, some heavily upgraded Scots actually. There's one QT-64 Scott 2AM, which is pretty expensive, plus some Scott 2s, another command vehicle. So it looks like 2 of the players are going here on the right flank, whereas there's only 1 PACT player on the left flank here. And as you can see, he doesn't really have too much. He's not putting anything in Juliet at all. Everything is back here in the main. So pretty interesting decision there.
Yeah, definitely a original start from the PACT. Most people, go for Foxtrot and they have some giant powwow between Juliet and Golf. Although I think by not doing that, it was a good move. It put NATO off balance, to be sure.
It definitely did, because we immediately sent a lot of our stuff into Juliet thinking we were going to have to rush it there, and then we spawn and we're like, where is the stuff in Juliet? Because, obviously there's nothing here. I mean, we didn't really know that if you look at our view, but, we had to go and check it anyway because they might have left armor there and just not put a command vehicle in Juliet thinking it might be overexposed. But, that's actually not what they're going to do. They actually have nothing in Juliet. I'm going to send my recon up in there to try and figure out what's going on, and Firestarter's VABs are going to advance here.
Yeah, actually, no, the match has actually started now. And we have NATO expanding to Juliet and India as expected. NATO isn't really pushing for Foxtrot very well, but PACT is definitely making a huge rush for Foxtrot. And they're going for Kilo, probably just to get a better spawn position for fighting over Charlie and those points. The PACT is definitely putting a huge push for the 10 points in India and Foxtrot, which is really, really important to take.
Absolutely, and now immediately upon noticing that Firestarter has moved his VABs up into Juliet and found nothing, I immediately start redirecting all of my forces to go into India because I know they're making a push on that point really hard. So here we go, I'm bringing in my MBT-70s, these 8 Chasseurs FAMAS, and these 4 Leopard 1A3s right here, along with some recon back here, hopefully going to be able to intercept whatever they have before it becomes too heavily entrenched. You notice India doesn't really have that much cover at all. If we zoom in here, there's a little bit of terrain here which might disrupt your field of vision. So that is going to be useful. These tree lines are going to be pretty useful for the tank combat a little bit later. And there are, of course, these forests that flank the edges. But beyond that, it's pretty much an open field where the tanks are going to rule the day.
I should note on the right-hand flank, we have Zorghammer, who has completely failed to push up at all, and he's almost AFK, leaving AA in the plain open. It's probably going to get sniped at some point. Although he is pushing up Armored Recon, but not sure how much that's seen right now. And then he sends his AA towards the enemy. Interesting.
As you can see, we can't really see too much of the enemy. The T-72Bs have now come into focus, and a few of the Scots along the edge there now firing their missiles, so they're probably going to be shooting at that roll end right there. The Alfies are firing. They are going to stun quite a bit of the stuff that's incoming, which is going to be useful for keeping them at bay a little bit. He's sending these AMX-32s here up to support me in India, and it's at about this time that I realize, hey, they're taking India. This is 5 points they've got, plus the 5 points in Foxtrot, so I decide to send my command armor up from Gulf into India to neutralize this 5-point advantage they're getting from India, which I think is really going to help us out a little bit later. And then I run into this BDRM-1 with my Chasseur FAMAS, which we're going to take care of that easily.
I should note Delta is being completely overrun. Zorghammer is not at all prepared to defend and is just trashed. He's retreating his VAB, but his defensive line is just completely overwhelmed by the assault.
They have way too much infantry here. These AMX-32s are way too close to the enemy. This is not a good situation here. These Alfies are right in front of T-72s. They're going to get shot. They're getting shot by infantry laws. Just that's bad news all around.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the fight that's currently going on in India right now. Switch to my view here. These infantry right here that tried to get into the woods to intercept what was going on in the woods here, 4 of those, 1 platoon got taken out. There's still 1 VAB from that platoon that's still there. But I know they have tanks up and around this area on the plain. So what I'm doing is I'm forming my tanks up. I'm getting ready to make a push. Here, and I note that I tell my team that there is a tank line there. So we're getting ready. And I'm going to put my tanks in this tree line that's directly ahead in order to attack them. The MBT-70s are going to be the main workhorse of this attack. I'm going to be pushing forward with my Leopard 1A3s, which in retrospect was kind of stupid considering they have T-80As there that are going to completely tear them apart before they get in range. You know, these T-80As, if we take a look at their info here, 9 front armor, so they're going to have to close quite a bit of distance before they can do any damage.
I should note, India is separated by a hill, and in hindsight, a nice tactic would have been to hold his leopards in the edge, such that the enemy tanks couldn't shoot him. That way, when the enemy tanks crest the hill, they'll be point blank, which puts Webb's cheap tanks at an extreme advantage compared to the expensive tanks, because when at close range, all tanks basically have 10 AP or whatever it is, and the cheapest tank wins. And I don't really see players using this tactic very often. I definitely think advancing out into the open like that was not the best move, although he definitely did get a few kills, which he otherwise wouldn't have.
And there is a Havoc back there that is going to light up these Leopard 1A3s more than they're already being lit up. You see, I do take out one of the group of 3 T-72s. By this point, I've managed to lose 8 tanks to their 4. So I decide this is probably a good time to retreat. Zorghammer has pushed up 2 AMX-32s. They're not going to make it out of there. They're going to get completely wasted. These T-80As are going to keep shooting at them. And as we all know, take a look at the AMX-32. Not too heavy on the armor. It's mainly meant to be a glass cannon, which it is very good at that. But
I would also know that tanks like that are extremely cheap, perfect for this reverse slope stuff. Just staying at the edge waiting for the enemy to come on over. And I should also know that the Havoc actually got shot down, so that's a large number of points.
Right, but this group of 3 chaparrals take that out. And I'd like to note here this flamethrower vehicle that's shooting at my recon. It's at this point that I realized there was something in that woods here, and I keep trying to push these 4 M132 Zippos up toward Hotel, because I'm thinking they probably don't have too much defense there. So I'm going to try and get a free command truck kill. They're almost out of gas, though. That's rather unfortunate. So I'm going to have to call in some HEMTs to refill them before I get up there. But these Zippos, they're going to be hero Zippos, and you're going to see why a little bit later.
It always lights, first time, every time. Although I have to say that PACT had an excellent opening. if you zoom out, you're going to see that they've totally trashed the right flank. And they're actually pushing onto the NATO spawn, and there's really not that much to stop them over there. Some infantry and a few tanks, but really nothing to stop them except time, and probably micro. But I highly doubt Zorkhammer has the necessary micro.
We haven't really talked about much on the left flank, and that is because the left flank mainly stayed quagmired throughout the entire game. You can see infantry here taking out these recon, but everybody is fairly entrenched. Although it's rather unfortunate we didn't notice that, because if you look here in Kilo, there's not really much here at all. You've got, you know, maybe a couple of pieces of infantry, but these VABs pretty much have unrestricted access toward the back of Kilo.
They do have two flamers, but yes, they do have complete access to the spawn path, which is very important because anything that gets called in through Kilo is going to go along that white line. Stick some infantry right there, and you're going to own a lot of stuff.
And that is exactly what's happening right here. These infantry are actually very nicely spaced out, which is very impressive by Firestarter. It's this very nice little wave that's pushing forward, and so they're not clustered up such that artillery would be very effective here. And I believe they do have some artillery. Not there, though.
Yep, and in the center, PACT is pushing webs out of India, chasing off the MPT-70s ignominiously, and cresting the hill.
And I have decided to make a stand right here in these bushes so that hopefully I'll be able to get some shots off on these T-80s before they manage to see me, and I do. And these T-80s start smoking quite a bit. Unfortunately, these MPT-70s are pretty low on their ATGMs, but that's okay because now these T-80As are inside of my gun range for the MPT-70s, and as you can see, I did manage to inflict some casualties on them, so they are retreating right now. One of them, actually both of them, pretty much almost dead. What I don't see until it's too late are these T-72s that are coming up on my flank. They're going to just obliterate my MPT-70s. I'm going to lose half of this platoon right here, which is unfortunate. I was hoping that another one of these could get away, but it didn't.
Now, I should note that, what was I going to say? Yeah, the PACT totally flanked out his MPT-70s, although I do think they bought their cost back with the T-80 kill and one of the T-72s. That paid for the loss, although it's definitely not a good position to be in, retreating off of India like this, and Foxtrot.
And you notice that because we are having to retreat, we're getting dangerously close to this command armor that is keeping them from getting the extra 5 points income from India. So I'm going to have to retreat this VAB very soon, and I almost forgot about these chaparrals and these curs, and this curs right here. I'm going to retreat them as well. But it's at this point that I decided it's probably going to be a good idea, since they've completely outmaneuvered me, that we get the hell out of there.
And over in Alpha, there's some actually fighting going on for a point. It looks like NATO has managed to repulse the attack.
Beyond all belief, they actually managed to push this back. These two AMX-32s firing on the BMP-2s, plus surrounded by the Schützer from Moss right here. They're being supported by this FOB. So these BMP-2s are going to go down, and we're going to resecure Alpha to be able to call things in. But these AMX-32s, yeah, they've got these T-55s coming up behind them pretty fast. They're about to get missiles in the butt, and as we all know, that doesn't work out too well.
Doesn't work out.
No, does not work out at all.
On the left flank, there's actually a lot of infantry moving up, although I'm thinking in Kilo is a bad place to be an infantryman right now, and whoa, the far left spawn, whatever infantry was there was apparently destroyed.
But you notice they do have tanks there, so these tanks are going to get quite a few free kills before anything actually serious goes down here. These AMX-30B Valorises, which are fairly good tanks for the cost. For 45 cost, you get an 8 accuracy, 6 AP tank, which should be able to fairly easily take care of these T-55s, which are just garbage tanks.
Yeah, easily.
And hopefully he gets his recon out of there in time. There is a battle going on for the actual Kilo spawn itself, but these Schützer from Moss are going to get taken out by flame tanks.
I would not call that a battle. It's more like a massacre.
But fortunately, in the center here, you can see my HEMTs have arrived at these hero Zippos, so they're going to get refilled pretty soon here, and they'll be on the move very quickly. They're continuing to push up into India. I've still kept the command truck here for as long as I possibly can, so that way we will keep them from getting that income as long as possible until we have a chance to call in additional units. Here you can see I've called in 2 M8 AGSs, which, if you're not familiar with the stats in the M8 AGS, it has a little bit more AP, fairly high accuracy, not good armor, but mainly at this point I know, hey, they've got quite a few heavy tanks. I need to be able to shoot them quickly, and kill them at range. So heavy accuracy tanks are definitely the way to go.
Yeah, either that or use tactics like hills to get your cheap tanks close. But at this point, the Pact have not only got the point advantage barely, but they also have a significant cap advantage with 5, 10, 11, 14, 16 points to 7 on NATO, which is a huge lead.
But you can see, even though they have that massive point lead, they really don't have an actual score lead that much. Let's take a look from my perspective here at the center, these Zippos here. I don't know what's out there. I have no idea what's going on, and this is rather foolish of me. I push these HEMTs up. I'm about to lose these HEMTs, unbeknownst to me. But I do see these Strops. They start firing at my Zippos as I start firing at these Scots right here. Let's take a look, see what I'm actually shooting at here. Go back here. So these Zippos are going to stay over the hill. You're going to fire at these Strops, which are going to get quite a few points for me. Take a look at the Zippos vet level here. Strop 2s are going to manage to kill at least one of these Zippos before the Zippos manage to kill the Strops, which is unfortunate, but so it goes. But you notice this one Zippo is back over the hill. They can't actually fire at the Strops, but here go the Strops. They're going down really fast. And of course they're stunned, so not much is going to be able to happen there. They're just going to get stuck in the flames. And because the Strops are located there, I know the command vehicle's got to be close. I can already see it. So that command vehicle is going down right now. That's going to be an easy 200 plus points for NATO right there.
Yeah, and if he was interested in cheap tactics, you could always shoot at the HEMTs, which they just capped, for some extra points.
As you can see, one of these Zippos, Prince right there, currently combat level 4. It's going to keep going, wipe out this BDRM, go to combat level 5 on a Zippo, but then PACT choppers arrive. They're going to die, but they've done their jobs. They have way more than made up for their cost. And at that point, I consider it an acceptable loss. I'm going to try and push them into the woods as far as possible to take out whatever else they can, but I don't think they're going to be able to do too much. They've got Havoc and 2 Mi-24As on them, so they're pretty much done.
Oh, look on Kilo quickly. Ooh, command truck sniped by artillery. Yeah, so NATO has just gained a huge point lead. We're talking like 400 points from command trucks alone. This just knocked down PACT by about 5 points. So they lost a huge, significant lead. Now they're down to 11 point per whatever unit. And NATO has 3, 4, 8. So the point gain has been very well narrowed, but PACT still has a significant lead.
Once again, I'd like to point out Firestarter's very good positioning of his infantry in Kilo. He's managing to keep them in this nice little corridor here and keep all of his infantry spread out so that way there can't be any really easy group kills on them by anything like armor. These AMX-30B Valorises are in a perfect position to shoot anything moving down the corridor or spawning in for that matter. So they have a very good camping position. This Luke's can see a lot of this material in the back here. Let's take a look at Firestarter's view. So he was able to actually spot that command truck, which is what enabled that kill. So very good scouting placement there. And these AMX-30Bs are going to kill anything that tries to move out of Kilo. So at this point, Cheese is pretty much stuck where he is.
Over in India, or rather Alpha, the fight continues to hold the point, although I'm pretty sure PACT is massing a unstoppable offensive. Probably as soon as they get fuel for their tanks over near Echo, they'll push it up.
But as you can see, we have even further widened that point margin. It's 31.25 to 24.73 right now. So we're starting to gain more of an advantage. That early rush right now has kind of worn off. They're slowing down. They're running out of fuel, running out of supplies. They're desperately trying to get everything across. So that blitzkrieg strategy is good if you can have enough momentum to crush them the first time around.
Well, I would argue that they've done a lot of crushing. It's really just some NATO players have been killing more than they've been losing. And what really matters is units. I mean, regardless of the points you lose, it's the units that matter. And PACT has just been losing too many command trucks, really. They haven't really lost that many units. It's really just 1, 2, maybe 3 command trucks that just got sniped.
Just 2.
2,
Yeah.
okay. So, I mean, but they're losing command trucks left and right, which is really something you shouldn't be doing, especially when you're winning.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, not only do they have to buy new command trucks like the one head per kilo, but, obviously that's units that aren't going to be shooting at NATO units, and it's just a loss. But NATO is now capping a lot of points. They're up to 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 points to, well, right now 10 for PACT. So NATO has definitely been working on evening the resource advantage.
But as you can see, these Mi-26s and Koloses are going to start filling up these T-72s, enabling them to actually get back into the offensive on Alpha, which, as you can see here, Firestarter has formed quite a nice little defensive line with the Chasseur FAMAS, and Zorghammer providing some additional anti-aircraft batteries and rifle squads here. But as you can see, there are 2 AMX-30B Valorises here, and that's pretty much the extent of the armor that we have covering Alpha. So not a good situation for us to be in, considering we've got 4 T-72Bs here, 4 T-72s here, plus an additional 1, 4, 6 T-72s up here. So a lot of armor on the PACT side, plus they're going to be fully healed when they go back in. So that's going to enable them to inflict a lot of pain, and they're probably going to be able to see these infantry, or at least they should know where they are by now, considering they've been attacked by them quite a few times by this point. So not sure how effective that's going to be. These Valkyries are going to move up and try and take out these infantry that are out in the open here. But now the T-72s begin advancing, and
the fight begins in earnest. I don't think the PACT is going to be stopped this time around.
I don't either. I think they have completely overwhelming force by this point. And this recon truck's probably also going to get sniped right about now. So that's really not going to help us. Yeah, there it goes. 1 AT missile. Here's some Scott 2s moving up. Notice that there's not too much on this side. There are 2 AMX-32s over here that are hidden in these woods, but they have to go down this hill before there is actually going to be an engagement. So that's going to narrow the distance a little bit. These T-72s are going to be able to engage these AMX-32s without too much of a problem.
I have to say, putting those AMX-32s right there is a real waste, especially considering their range and accuracy. Because, I mean, the first thing with a gun is going to kill them, pretty much.
Absolutely. They really should have engaged these T-72Bs at range, considering these T-72Bs have less accuracy on their main gun.
And there goes 250 points right there.
And they got wiped out. So did the Valorises. So at this point, there's absolutely no armor. The command truck gets sniped.
It's down.
This fight is pretty much over.
Yeah, the infantry is just going to get slaughtered as soon as they poke their heads out. And I think PACT has almost regained the point lead, actually.
But these Alphys are actually going to start firing artillery on this extremely grouped up PACT force. So of course we're going to stun a lot of stuff, rout a lot of stuff. I believe we might inflict a little bit of damage.
Yeah, they just lost about 120 points of choppers, but it's really not going to be much casualties for PACT here. Maybe some damage from the artillery pieces, but those artillery pieces are actually under attack. Yeah, the artillery has been forced to stop firing, and yeah, they've actually forced all the command trucks off of Alpha.
So now the point lead has again narrowed even more with this continuing attack on Alpha. So there really isn't anything else to stop this force. These AMX-30 Roland 2s are going to go down. Chaparral's going to go down. The MT's going to go down. The VAB's going to go down. Of course, assuming these T-72s don't rout, which is amusing. However, I am in India currently pushing forward a force of 10 tanks, 4 Leopard 1A3s. Again, these aren't vetted, plus 2 M8 AGSs and 2 MBT-70s. They're going to be able to wipe out these VPZUs pretty effectively, so PACT are going to lose a few points there. And I'm going to push into India because I know if I can get to this command armor, then we're going to have a nice little buffer again. And so that's going to leave them with probably 1 piece of command armor in Foxtrot, considering they did abandon Lima. So that means that they are probably short on command trucks by this point. They did manage to get another one back into Kilo.
Yeah, although I have to say that it's quite the trip to go from one side of India to the other. And do you actually know where the command truck was, or did you just assume it was going to be over here?
I had assumed that, based on the fact that I hadn't really seen it, that it was back in that corner, because there really wasn't anywhere else for it to be.
Right.
As you can see, India is very open, and I had recon on most of the parts of India, with the exception of the very back corner. So there aren't really any forests to hide it in, and they definitely weren't in this building complex. And the only forest that you can hide it in is on my side.
Right.
So,
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a race against time here, although I have to say that time is probably with you unless the command truck decides to relocate. Although there is a Havoc floating around.
there is a Havoc, and they're calling in a T-80 BV and 2 T-72s right here from Foxtrot.
Yeah, but those have to come through all those woods in Foxtrot, and it's just going to take them forever to get there. Yeah, I think that unless they have something close by, it's better move that BDRM or something. Yeah. And those M8 AGSs, those are actually pretty fast, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, 70 km, 8 accuracy, and a good stabilizer. That's not bad. I mean, these things are really glass cannons, but they're expensive. I mean, if they weren't 70 apiece, I'd probably use them myself, but 70 is a bit expensive.
Yeah, but at this point, as I told you earlier, we really need to get those rounds on target quickly and be able to retreat fast, which is the idea here. So hopefully I'm going for this kind of lightning offensive against that command truck before they manage to get anything back in India. As you can see right now, I really don't know what's out there. So I'm pushing this Kurz up to try and figure out exactly what's in India and to know exactly where to go, where to strike quickly, so that I can basically get in and get out.
It seems that no one actually knows what is in India from the enemy's point of view anyway. But I think this plays into the advantage of NATO, since obviously there has to be a command truck in there, and they have no idea your attack is coming. So the clock isn't quite ticking yet, for you anyway.
Alright, so let's take a look at what they see right now. As you can see, they still don't know it, but these two choppers right here, this one recon chopper and this Havoc, are going to be kind of a pain. As you're about to see, what I'm going to do is I keep pushing my Kurz up, and what I really should have done is I should have pushed everything up together, and I didn't think about that. Because if I had, then I would not have given the advanced warning that they're about to get when their recon chopper spots my Kurz. Which they can see it right now.
That there's some minor flank action going on around Bravo with some tanks. But at this point, there's less than 500 points to go until the match ends. So things are getting down to the wire here. PACT still doesn't know the full extent of the offensive, but now that their Havoc is in range, they can probably see that, oh snap, they're under attack.
They can, in fact, see my tanks now, if you look from their point of view, so that recon chopper can totally see that. But what they don't see are these three chaparrals that are coming up behind them, plus the Kiowa. So these chaparrals are going to immediately move into range of the Havoc, and I see that Havoc, and I say, oh man, that's going to be some free points right there. So I decide to use the tanks to continue to bait this Havoc, which is going to continue moving in to try and kill these tanks. And there it goes, 165 points, which pushes us really, really close to the PACT score. That was a very big loss for them right now when they really didn't need to lose anything, because remember, the point value of this game for it to end is only 4,500 points. So we are right down to the wire right now.
Yeah, definitely. And at this point, Webs really should just be pushing, because now the PACT has gotten some T-80s and T-72s to guard the BDRM.
Let's actually take a look at the south here. You can see they're moving some T-72s fast up into India, trying to catch up with me as quickly as they possibly can, because they know, they've seen this group of tanks and they know what's going right for that BDRM or BRDM. And as you can see, apparently whoever owns that command armor knows it too, because he's getting the hell out of there.
Yeah, at this point I think the jig is up. A smart thing would have been to do maybe is stay behind those buildings in India. Let those T-72s come down the road and expose the rear armor at point blank, ideally anyway. And
now, I did spot that group of tanks from the north, and I decide I really don't want to engage them, so I immediately start trying to maneuver myself. And then I spot this group of T-72s right here that's outflanking me, And I know I am in some deep crap because right now I've got my rear armor exposed to the T-72s and this T-80, not to mention the fact that my side armor is also now exposed to these T-72s. This is not a good situation to be in, especially when we are this close on points. I'm managing to kill some of these T-72s, but somewhere else they're managing to kill some of our stuff too. Probably up here in Kilo. Right now there's lots of choppers. This AMX-10P is probably going to die pretty soon. I'm losing Leopard 1A3s.
Ooh, there goes an M8.
Right, and that was a very expensive 70-point loss right there.
Yeah.
So here we go. They only need 15 points here in order to actually win this. And this game is going to be over pretty soon. It's 44-42 to 44-85, and there were some bucks firing at this Kiowa right there.
And the Chinook is going to get shot up. Ooh, there it goes. Very close game.
Very, very close game. Probably one of the most nail-biting games and most seesawing game that I have ever played in war games to date.
A difference of only 36 points. With that, I think it could pretty much come down to about 1,000 what-if scenarios there.
Exactly.
So there really isn't any point in going, well, if Webbs or so-and-so did this or that, it's really just one tank. It could have just been a roll of the die, really.
And ultimately, I think whatever we would have done, unless we radically altered the way we played that game, I think we would have wound up in a draw. Ultimately, you probably should not be having one player go for Foxtrot. It is a 5-point call-in point, and that is a point that you absolutely need to have on this map. And taking Foxtrot will allow you to easily move into India and keep a lot of distance between you and the enemy on the other flank of the map. So ultimately, as long as you can keep them paused on the other flank of the map, you're probably fine.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe fighting over Julia and I think it's Golf is kind of maybe not the brightest idea. But Pact, they probably should have maybe stopped pushing after they secured those 10 points plus whatever was behind them, since they could sit back, catch their breaths, call in some more units, and then push again. But as it is, a very close game, down to the wire. Yeah.
Definitely a very good game played by PACT and NATO there.
Well,
so,
maybe except for Zorkhammer.
well,
lost
no,
like
he
2,000 points.
I don't know. He redeemed himself at the end, managing to hold Alpha. So that was better. But yes, he did have 2,000 points worth of casualties in that, which was kind of painful. But you know, the last couple of rounds I've played have not been exactly glorious either.
Well,
so
yeah, I suppose PACT had one guy who actually did worse than Zorkhammer, so we shall refrain from disapproval. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's pretty much that for that game.
that is indeed, and that's the end of Shoutcast number 9 for Quantitative Easing. We will see you again with our 10th Shoutcast coming up some point in the future. That's all for this one. Signing off.
Yeah.